This video will show you how to remove the stock suspension on all 2014 through 2018 Silverado 1500s.
All right, let's kick off the uninstall here. The first thing we want to do is remove the brake line brackets and the ABS line brackets so that when everything's loose and at full slack or full droop, it's not putting pressure on these lines. There's a 10 millimeter right here and a 10 millimeter right there. So grab your 10 socket and get those two off. Now what I like to do, just so we don't lose the bolt, is just thread it on a couple of threads right back in the hole while the bracket's loose. That way we know where it is. Same thing back here. Take that bracket off. I'm just gonna lightly thread it back in, just like that. All right, next up, we're gonna loosen up the top nut for our sway bar end link. In order to do that, however, just because there's not a whole lot of room to work with, I'm gonna put a 15 millimeter wrench on the nut on top and use my 15 deep socket on the bolt going through the bottom, and that'll loosen it up. And just like that. Now you don't have to take the entire end link straight down, just wanna grab that nut off the top, and if you can, take the bushing off as well, and just set those aside. All right, next up, we're gonna loosen up and remove our tie rod end. Grab your 21 millimeter deep socket and get that guy off. All right, now something to keep in mind here is that if you take this off, then this whole thing's gonna start moving. What I'm actually gonna do now that it's loose is just put the tie rod end back in and just put this in a couple of threads. We're gonna want this to be pretty stable for the rest of the uninstall, at least up until the point of the upper control arm coming off, so let's just keep that there for now. Next, we're gonna be loosening up and removing the nut on the bottom of our upper control arm where the ball joint connects to the hub here. Now, in order to do that, you're gonna grab an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench. That's at least what I recommend because there's not a lot of room here. And this is where we want the stability of the tie rod end because we don't want this thing moving back and forth. So let's crack this guy loose. All right, now once this is loose, what we're gonna do is take the nut completely off and then thread it back in a couple of threads. All right, so it's on a couple of threads there. Now we can grab a hammer and start tapping on the side to dislodge the ball joint. There it is. So now that we have everything loose, let's take our tie rod end completely off. I'm just gonna put this nut back on so we don't lose it. Now we can swivel this guy out. We're gonna push down and remove the nut here. Okay, once this nut is off, I'm gonna set that guy aside. This upper control arm is gonna pop out, so you just wanna be there to support it. Make sure the lines are out of the way, and now that's free. Now we wanna remove the two bottom strut bolts. They're 17 millimeters. Keep in mind, once these two guys come out, the entire lower control arm is gonna drop down, so just watch your head. The next step here is to remove the top three nuts. They're 18 millimeters, and then the entire strut will come out. Before we can do that, grab a panel removal tool or something similar. There are these little clips holding onto the front stud, and then the one closest to the front of the vehicle here on our driver's side. Just gonna pop those guys off. Same thing on the opposite side as well. So once you have those off, grab an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench and get those three off. Okay, once you have all three off, the strut will drop down and you can take it off. Okay, set it aside. Now when it comes to the uninstall, you can repeat that exact same process on the other side. Moving on to the rear, the first thing I want to mention here is to properly support your rear axle. Now, because we're using a lift and we're up in the air, I have 2 pole jacks, one on each side, close to the bottom of the shock there. Now, if you're working on the ground, you want to make sure you're using a hydraulic jack, in which case you can put it right underneath the rear diff. If you have a couple of them, you can go on both sides, but the rear diff will be sufficient. At this point, everything you do to one side, you simultaneously want to do to the other. So once you have the weight taken off with it jacked up on both sides, again, we're using the pole jacks, we're going to start by removing the bottom shock bolt. But once you remove that, same thing on the other side, and then we'll get to the U-bolts. For this, I'm going to grab my 21mm deep socket on my impact gun. I'm using air, but you can use a regular cordless impact if you need to, or a ratchet. I'm going to put my 21mm wrench on the bolt head and take this guy off. Now, if your bolt is tight, you want to jack up just to take the pressure off of that guy and then start working it off. All right, do the same thing on the other side. All right, next up, again, it's very crucial that you have the weight supported underneath. Again, I'm using pole jacks. This is the absolute part where you need that to happen. You're gonna use your 21 deep socket, and we're gonna start removing the bolts on the U-bolts underneath where that cradle is. So we're gonna start taking these guys off. Now, one thing I would recommend is loosen them all the way to where they're just hand tight. You can pop them off by hand because this guy's gonna start to drop off. So you don't wanna hit all 4 and then it just fall to the ground. I just like to leave the nuts on a couple of threads so we can easily catch it. I'll just put this guy back on a couple of threads and then just work my way around. Okay, so now we can start taking these guys off. And once you get to the last one, this cradle's gonna come with it, so just pull that guy off with it. Next, we can lift up the factory U-bolts because we'll be replacing them. They're not going to be long enough for the lifted application. Pull those guys out and set those aside. Now, before we start lowering this side down to replace the factory lift block, we're going to repeat the exact same thing on the other side, and then we'll start swapping them out. All right, from here, you can slowly and carefully start lowering these guys down. I recommend lowering them simultaneously, but you can go one after the next. Just make sure you're doing a little bit at a time until it's loose enough to get it out. Now, before moving any further, I did throw a pole jack underneath of our drive shaft just to add some support to it. It starts to slouch backward. I started to put a pole jack there and jacked it up just to support that drive shaft so it doesn't tilt backward. At this point, we can start continuing moving downward. Now, we're already pretty loose. I'm just gonna go a little bit more on both sides. All right, at that point, you can go in, grab that factory block, and slide that guy out. Set that aside, repeat on the other side, and we're good to move on. Just to give us a little bit more slack on the rear axle, I'm gonna remove the 13mm bolt on the frame here, holding up our e-brake cables. That way, there's not a lot of tension being put on it. Grab a 13 socket and get that guy off. Once that's off, just lift up that hook from the frame, and now this guy's loose.
Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Silverado, keep it here at AmericanTrucks.com.